day. So, welcome again to our second week for Systems Integration Architecture Demonstration. Again, this is part of your final task performance for this subject, and you need to comply with it or else you will fail this one. So, just a small recap. So, for last week's demonstration, uh, your goal is to create a web form, okay? So again, let us remind ourselves na maybe some of you here, because I already received some some feedback na, sir, can we put a design on the forms? Yes, you may. Uh, Again, what I'm after is only the concept, okay? So I'm not after for the design because that's not part of our our what do you call this one, our syllabus. So if you would want to design your forms, it's okay with me. So hindi ko pa siya nire-require, okay? So yung goal ng last week natin na demonstration is that you need to create a form that will accept input from the user. Like magta-type ako dito, and then if I click this button, automatically or by the process itself is mapupunta siya sa database na ginawa natin, which is ito. Okay? So we created SIA 1 TP na database, and we have created tables with the name na product info. And then for your demonstration, yung na-assign ko na task is that you need to add two text box, di ba? Dalawang text box, and of course, what do you call this one? Two text box, and you are to what do you call this one? Put it in the tables, okay? Like it will become a record in the table, okay? Now, yung goal naman natin for today is that, di ba, if you could still remember yung basics natin sa computer systems, yung may access lang ng back-end ng any computer systems, may it be POS, inventory, enrollment, yung may access lang sa back-end or yung the entirety of the records is yung database administrator, okay? Or yung in charge ng system, okay? So, for us to display these records to the interface na pwedeng makita ng simple end user, kinakailangan natin gumawa ng another function that will retrieve these records papunta dito sa form, okay? So, if we will try to analyze the logic behind it, the first demonstration is nanggaling sa form, papuntang database. Yung second natin na task is from the database is ipapalabas natin papunta dito sa form, okay? So, to do that one, it's actually quite simple because meron ka lang idadagdag, okay? So, here is the code that you will put or you will just add on the product form PHP. Balik ka doon and then input these following codes, okay? So, lakihan ko na lang para mas madali siyang makita, okay? So, this one here is our code for inserting, kaya inserting data from form to database. Okay, ito yung form, ito yung code natin for insert, di ba? Ito naman, this one is from database to web form. Ito, yung web form is yung nakikita natin kanina. Okay? So, to do that one, what we will do is to do this, what we call this one, like the query for select, okay? So, if you could still remember in your database management, the select query is used to retrieve general records or specific records from your table, okay? So, you to do that one, what you will do is that you create a variable and then you call this function, MySQLi query, that will instruct your program kung ano yung gagawin niya. So for this one, just like this one, di ba? Ito, ang ginawa niya dito is nag-insert siya. Dito naman, yung ginawa niya is that it tried to link, di ba? It tried to use the connection provided in our previous, di ba? Yung previous natin na ginawa. And then, this one will tell na, okay, you kindly select all the records from the product info. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng records na meron sa product info is, will be, not is, but will be used on the next process. Okay, now, this one here, okay, this one here is actually a while, di ba? Di siya do while, but it's a simple while, okay? So, a simple while will indicate na The simple while will be the one in charge for retrieving all of the records. Okay? So what will happen di sir if we will try to remove while? Okay? Kung wala itong while, yung mariretrieve lang niya is of course yung first row of the records. Ibig sabihin isa lang yung kaya niyang i-retrieve. So to do that one or to address that concern of selecting all of the records, we will use the while loop. Okay? So the while loop has this condition na it will fetch all the records. This one is a function. So it will fetch all the records na nakita ni variable na retrieve. Remember, variable retrieve has the value na yung pag-create niya or pag-select niya lang lahat ng records. Yung problema lang niya is that kaya niyang i-select ang lahat ng records, pero pag walang while loop is yung first lang ang mapapakita niya. Okay? So, to do this one, of course, if you could still remember in your basic HTML, I'll be creating a table. Okay? Kasi nga, table is composed of rows and columns man, di ba? So, meron tayong table row dito. So, a simple table row. Okay? A table row will be used to separate one record to the other. Okay? Yung table divide naman, itong mga TD dito, yung TD, this one will be used to display columns. Like for example, di ba? Kasi nga yung sa records natin or yung sa database natin, if you could still remember, we have 4 columns, di ba? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, gagawa din tayo ng columns or 4 na columns ang ipapakita natin. So, to demonstrate that one, we will then create 4 table divides, di ba? I hope you could still remember your basic HTML for this one. And then, you have it here. So, dito na papasok yung what you call this one, yung process of selecting kung ano yung ipapakita nila. So, you have it here. So, from the records provided by variable retrieve, okay, it will then fetch all of its records based on, ayan o, kasi nga naka-array man siya, di ba? So, naka-array siya. So, if we could still remember, arrays are represented by indexes or elements. So, based sa pag-retrieve ng records sa table, it was confirmed na 4 yung columns or pwedeng ma-retrieve niya. So, particularly, we will call the product ID, the product name, the product description, and the product quantity. That's why, if we will try to run this code, ito yung lalabas. Okay? So, sir, bakit may blank? Because dito sa aking database is wala siyang product description. Okay? That's why it's blank. Okay. So, ayan. So, for this week, yung gagawin lang natin is itong code na ito. Okay? Now, for your activity or for your, what do you call this one? For your task performance for the week, yung gagawin natin is that we will add one, okay, again I will just write na lang it in a Microsoft Word para clear yung description natin ng instruction, okay? So yung goal your task for this week is for me to gauge or measure whether you have understood yung sinabi ko o hindi. So your first task is that you add a new text box, okay? A new text box for what do you call this one? Remaining quantity. Okay? Remaining quantity. So, ibig sabihin, you will then add another column to your database. And of course, you add a new column to the table, yung product info. Diba? Yung product info, I think this is the correct name. And then of course, add a new table divide. Diba? Or it's represented by the symbol TD, diba? For displaying the new value, which is represented by remaining quantity. Okay? So, in simple terms, yung mangyayari is ganito. You add a new column after product quantity, which is remaining quantity. Kayo na bahala kung ano yung gusto nyong naming notation. And then dito, you add a new text box. And dito, di ba, instead of 4, you display five, okay? You display five columns, okay? Sorry. So yung goal natin for this week is that we are to retrieve records from the database tapos display natin dito. Again, I am not requiring the group to provide design, pero if you can, that's good, okay? But yung goal natin is to slowly but surely to demonstrate the process of integration. Okay? So if you have comments or questions, you can send me a message or type it in the comment section. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. Thank you.